Okay, guys, Gravy here. I'm going to do a quick setup in all of that for my UH-1 450 Rotoscale helicopter. Got it in the mail yesterday. A couple things I noticed I have another video that I'll attach edit in here later on that I did already, but I had to kind of loosen up the main shaft. It wasn't spinning freely, neither was the main gear. Also, another issue that I found I had with it, there was no end cap on the gear. There's a little brass piece that usually fits over here, kind of cleans that up a little bit. And there was none. This is the actual gear. I had other 450 gears because you can see I got other 450 helicopters. That was actually the A109 that I converted to the MD500. Just bought the MD500 shell, bought the 5-bladed head, and did all my modifications. There's a 450 Apache I'm working on right now, my extra gears and stuff. So anyways, I put the other gear in, and that cap comes on and off, but I just, the other gears I like. I think they're Align gears. So anyways, what you'll need, this is the bag of parts you get with it right here. It's got the horizontals on it, and some Velcro and some zip ties and stuff. I do have the decals. There's decals. The canopy came with it. I do have some issues with my canopy that came. It's got some scuff marks already right out of the box. And then up here it's got some cracking in the doghouse and shipping. So I've already kind of talked to Motion on that. You get the blades. Eventually, I guess these come with the microbeast controllers. Mine didn't, so they sent it out differently. So that's what you'll get in the box. What you'll need, jeweler scale, something that does hundreds of grams, a couple of Allen wrenches, needle nose, ball linkage pliers, and then little cross wrench. So then of course you'll need a battery. You'll also want some blue tape and a pencil, and I'll show you what that's all about now, because the first thing that we're going to do is balance blades. Alright guys, Gravy here. Just want to kind of go over something that I just got done doing real quick. I noticed that my setup was a little tight. In other words, when I would crank the gears backwards, it would not want to really spin very well. And also going forward, it's a little more stiff than it is right now. It's kind of really stiff, but I've determined that is the tail on this one now, what's left. But it was a lot stiffer. So what I ended up doing, I just want to show, and some people that buy this might want to do it. This stuff's all done in the factory. So loosen up your bearing blockheads, both sides. There's two. And loosen up your motor here. This was the big culprit, but I did have some adjustments here. One was that, if I pulled the shaft out, which I have it all attached now, but pretty much you should be able to just kind of like get it centered and drop it, and it should go pretty easy straight, almost through the first and the second bearing, easily through the first, but the second, and it was kind of really tight pulling it out. So what you do is you loosen all those up, you get it arranged right with everything, and then when you're all done, you cinch everything back down. The other thing too is the pinion was pushed up really hard against the main gear, which will cause issues. So you take a piece of like sticky note paper, loosen up the 2 screws, get the sticky note paper in between the 2, cinch it down, and then just about once you get that all cinched, then you go through and you cinch everything else down, and then it should smooth. It should go pretty smooth, which it does now. So that's one thing I've had to do so far. And these are just common, typical helicopter things that I've seen. Just kind of got to go through all this stuff because, again, they are quick assembled. And if you want something flying good, you got to spend the time with it, right? So that's that. Okay, so my blades, I already balanced. I did it at work yesterday when I got the box. But we're going to show you kind of, I'm just going to go through the process so you understand. So we got a 0, put the first blade on there, and 1941, a good year I guess. Put the second blade on, 1941. So what I ended up having to do was, this one was light, so I had a little piece of tape that I had to put on there. Now, it's not just adding the right piece of tape, and I use this vinyl 3M, Gorilla vinyl stuff. It's really good, really strong, really sticky, and has a little bit more weight for the area. So anyway, so it's not just putting the right piece of tape on there. And basically what you do is you get it on there, you find out, oh, okay, this one's heavy, so, or this one's light. So you cut a piece of tape, you think you set it on there, and oh, nope, now it's too heavy. So you cut a little off, and you keep doing that until you get the weight right. Then the next thing you do is you take a pencil, and I find this really easy to do. And what we're going to do at this point now is we're going to balance it laterally. And I just take a piece of tape, just kind of hold it in place. That's all you need to do, just something. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the non-blade with the tape on it. Take another piece of tape. There we go. And you're going to find the balance point. That's about it right there. So then you're going to mark where that one's at. A piece of tape. And you don't need a ruler, you don't need really much anything on this. And then you're going to take the other one, and you're going to find that same place. And it's going to be really close. And there it is. So I've already balanced mine, like I said, laterally. And then what you do is you take that piece of tape that you had just lightly set on there, and you move it, and you keep moving it until it balances at the same spot. Once you get that where it's balanced at the same spot, then you now have a set of balanced blades, both weight and laterally. So the next step, what we're going to do is prepping up for the ESC, or for the receiver and the flybar controller. Okay, we're going to see if we can get this on one take. The next thing I'm going to do now is I got the microbeast plus out. I got my receiver. I'm using a can't remember, it's Free Sky. I use these XSR receiver, which is S-bus out with also telemetry. This will be my telemetry so I can get my cell voltage while I'm flying. And then I got my old ESC from my A109 because I went to a Talon 35 for my MD500. So got the same ESC that is in there, but I'm just going to use this separately. Got my setup ready. We're going to go into here. We're going to go down to bind. I already got it created. I just copied my MD500. I got a little bit of changes I got to make. So I'm ready to bind there. And got my sensor ready to go. This will come into play after I bind, because I want to make sure that it's reading. So here's the paperwork that I'm going, or the wiring diagram I'm following. So I have my signal, my S-bus out going to elevator DI, and here's my connection, elevator DI. I have my power from my ESC going to there. So now we're going to see if I can set this up and do this here in view. So what I have to do on this is, while I'm powering this up, I have to hold down this button right here. So we should see lights come on here, and then let me see if I can get this. Yes, I'm aware I have a long thumbnail. I use that for opening packages. Works great. Oops, and I forgot one important thing. Let's put it in bind mode. Telemetry on. There we go. And it's bound. So now I can do this. Turn that off. Now when I turn this back on, I got telemetry. Now, while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and plug my sensor in. And there we go. Here's a sensor. So let's go ahead and see what our voltage is. Make sure we get the ground and the ground and the hot and the hot. There we go. Now we're going to go into Discover. See here. Go all the way down to the end here where telemetry is. And we're going to go Discover to Sensor. And there it is, cells. I'm reading it now. So I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard. Oops. Let me grab it without the thumb. And there it is. I'm reading 22.39 off of my battery off that sensor. So that is getting the receiver bound. So the next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to set the receiver type. Okay, again, try to see this if I can get this in one shot. Lots of editing to do here, guys. So we're going to do the receiver discovery type. We're going to tell it what this, we're going to tell this how we're communicating with this. So basically what it says in here is that we hold down this button while we power it up, and it'll cycle. Once we see it cycle through the lights, the LEDs here, we release. And then when that's done, we press this button, just what we release, then we press this button one time, and it'll automatically discover and tell us what type of communication we were. Actually, it won't tell us, it'll do it. What we're looking for is we're S-bus, so we want a solid red light, and that'll be the S-bus. So, see if I can set this up here. So we get everything. Okay, see if I can get this all right here. All right, so I'm going to hold this button, and I'm going to power this up. And there, oh shoot, all right. Not easy to do it by yourself. So here we go, holding the button, powering it down. Okay, now I'm going to press this button once. There it goes off. Purple, red, and then back to B. So that's it, we're good. So now if we want to test this real quick, I'm going to power it off. And let's hook up what they're calling channel 1. If I can remember. Channel 1 should be my elevator. Yes, it is. So let's see if we can get the servo. This is a servo. I got the stupid thumb in the way. Got the servo right here, wire for elevator. So let's see if we can plug this in to channel 1. Yeah, there we go, channel 1. So we now have channel 1 plugged into the servo. And we really want this puppy to initialize when it's going to do it solid. So I'm just going to let it sit there like that. And let's plug this puppy in. Okay, so it's doing its thing right now. It's going okay. All right. There we go. Now let's see if the elevator servo moves. And there we go. That's it. So we know that we are talking to it and all is good. Life is good. So now I'm going to go ahead and at this point I'm going to stop using this ESC and I'm going to use the actual stock ESC. I'm going to wire everything up and connect it, and then we're going to go from there. We're going to set orientation and everything. That'll be the next one. All right, guys, I was too quick with last time with getting rid of the ESC. Realized that when I was done, I need to do one more thing. I need to set the limits on this ESC. So I'm leaving this ESC plugged into power, and then I'm removing the red wire. Temporarily, I just used a razor blade, got underneath the pin and pulled it out. Temporarily, I'm pulling the BEC power off of the ESC that I'm using, the onboard. So I'm going to plug that in real quick, and that goes into channel 5. And we'll go through my channels here in a minute, layout. Now I'm going to go ahead and set that again flat. We don't really care exactly the orientation at this point. We just want to make sure that it'll initialize and do what it needs to do. So sometimes it takes a little time moving it around, especially when things are loose like this. There we go. So now I got it set. We're going to see, and I'm going to power it up.
Telemetry recovered.
There we go, telemetry recovered. Okay. Okay, everything's all functioning. So now the thing I need to do is I need to set the limits on the ESC. So I just want to stop making some noises here. There we go. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I have on my receiver, you can see my channel outputs on my program. I'm going to go ahead and go
Throttle active.
full
0
throttle. Oops.
angle 84
There
dB.
we go.
0 volts idle up.
That's full throttle. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and set up the ESC.
Idle up. Throttle hold.
And all I did was hit the switch and take it to 0. That was it. Now I can get rid of that extra ESC. I can power everything down. That's powered down. That's powered down. And now we can continue on to the next phase of hooking everything up and going from there. Now we're going to talk about placement and wiring and connections and all that stuff. And here's a swash plate, and the one I'm going for is right here. Actually it's like the 120 is what I'm going for. And the way that I have this right now is, you can see channel 1 is elevator. So this wire coming from the back right along there goes into channel 1. And then this right here is going to be channel number 3. Channel number 3. And then this right here, this one is going to be channel number 2, and that follows it. And then you have rudder on the end is channel 4, and aileron channel 5 is your throttle output, especially if you're using an S bus like I am. Now, where I plan on putting my microbeast is right here. And the reason why is that any trims that you're going to do, you don't trim through the controller, your transmitter. You disable all those trims. Don't use them. No. Your trims are done here. And when you get it up and flying, you're going to need to access this button to get in and add your trims. And the way you add your trims are, you come over here and you hold the button until it starts flashing. You let go of the button and it goes into A. And in the item menu A is where you add your trims. So if you're slowly drifting forward, you would pull the elevator stick back. Each time you pull it back is 1 click of trim back. If it's drifting to the right, then you're going to use aileron left. Each time you click aileron left, from center to left is a click of trim. And that's how you're going to trim it. So, and then when you're all done, you just, go through all the menu buttons until it resets itself, and then you're ready to fly again. And it works really good. And I've only had to, again, on initial setup, set up my trims and then back away. So before we go any further at this point, I have already powered it up. And matter of fact, I will do that right now. I'm not going to do any other setups. All I'm going to do is power it up. I got no speed going here, so we're going to power it up. There we go. And this is kind of where a little experience comes into play. I'm just going to let it initialize. And it's done initializing. So The only thing that I want to look right now is, and again, I've used one that I've already done. We're going to go through these setups here in a second, but I just want to make sure that all my servos are functioning, and I know that they're in the right place. Not that we can't change the wiring when we're done here, but for me it's going to be a little bit hard because I'll have to pull this plate off to really get to the stuff unless I want to use needle nose. But I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of my cleanup and mount stuff, and then we'll continue on. Okay, just real quick, I pulled the plate off. That's the battery plate. There's 4 screws, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. That's the 4 screws there. That just allows me to really have full access to this open area while I'm doing this. And I'm going to mount mine right here. I used some of the double-sided sticky foam that comes with it. Already mounted it on the back. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it right here, get it nice and secure, and then we'll start the process. Here we go again. So now we are going to start going through the setup, the basic hilly setup. And we're going to get into the setup menu. What we're going to do is we're going to hold, now again I have my transmitter talking to my receiver, and I've got my microbeast mounted. It's in there solid. I've already gone through the startup and done what I need to do, so it's all ready to go right now. Okay, if it was set up perfectly at this point, it'd be ready to fly. So what we're going to do is we are going to hold this button down, and we're going to keep holding it down until the flashing stops when we're on menu item A. And there we go. Now we're in menu item A. Menu item A is the device orientation. And what we're going to do is change the color of the LED. It's off right now. It's this one in the back. We're going to change that to red because there's my setting. I have the key, the flight direction. So the flight direction is this way. My button's up front here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cycle through. There's purple flashing, there's purple solid, there's red flashing, and there's red. And that's what I want, is red. Now we're going to go into the next item. So we're going to push the button once. Now we're in B. And you can't really see that, but that is purple. And so item B is for the swash plate update rate. Now, I've already highlighted for my MD500 what I am. So this is what I need. I need red for B, I need solid blue for C, and I need flashing red for rudder update rate, okay? So we're gonna change this until I get to red. And what I'm doing is I'm moving the stick. That's it, and now it's solid red. So at this point, I'm going to press, we're gonna go to C. C is blue, and that's what I needed it. So no adjustments needed here. And now we're going to go to D. D is purple, and I actually need it flashing red. So we're going to go 1, and there's flashing red. Okay. So now we can go into E. And E is rudder servo limits. So in this point here, we are going to drive the rudder all the way until its endpoints and stop. That's too far. There we go. Okay, so we're too far that way. Now you can see why it needs to be done. That's good. I'm going to do it again. That's good. That should be good there. And what you'll see is every time I do this, the LED will flash and go solid. There we go. Okay, so now that one's good. So now, and it tells you you can make adjustments. And now we're going to go into the next menu item. There we go. Which is F. F is the direction. Now, in this direction, it says use right stick, and we should see the top of the blades go towards the boom. And there we go. Top of the blades went towards the boom. So we are good, and blue is the color we're looking for. There you go. So we are right. If there was something wrong, if you were going the other way, first you would do is switch it in your controller. You want to see a blue LED when you're all done and all good. If it's wrong, it'll have a different color. So now we're going to go to G. There's G, and G is solid red, which is 120 degree. That's for your swash plate. So that means we are right because we got 120 degree on our swash plate. Okay, and that's down here also is 120. So we're going to flip the page. Now we're going to go to H. Here we go, H. And H is for setting your servo trim. You want to make sure you're at this point, your swash plate is all level, everything's all good. And I can see right now that channel 3 is off. Okay, and I can also, it looks like channel 1 and 2 are off. So let's go ahead, and we are in H. We're going to adjust the servo trim right now. There we go. Okay, sorry, you have to use the aileron stick to get it to go into the first one. The first one is going to be purple, which is channel 1. In channel 1, I want to see it go perpendicular, so I'm going to use the rudder again. And we're going to see if we can do this together. There we go, there's channel 1. I got that pretty good. So I'm going to use the aileron stick again. Okay, now it's red, which is channel 2. So we're going to get this so it's level. There you go. So now we're going to use it again and do channel 3. And there you go. So at this point, we've got all of our swash plate trims adjusted. We're 90 degrees. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit I, and then we're going to, there we go. Now we're going to check the direction of the swash plate. So we want to see when I go up with the stick, they all go up, and when I go down, they all go down. There we go, see this? So I'm going up, going down, going up, going down. So at this point, we're pretty good, and before I go to the next, I'll do that as another video. On to the next item, which is your pitch, getting your 6 degrees and then your plus and minus 12 degrees. One of the things I like to do is this is a good time to get your pitch gauge out. Get your pitch gauge, you're going to need one of these. I put the blades on. I've also disconnected the motor leads because I don't want nothing happening. So real quick, what we're going to do is we're going to power up. And before I even get into that, I want to level my... I want to get my blades tracking correct. So we're going to get here, and I'm going to zero it. So what I do is I put it on the frame, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to hold 0. And it's 0. Okay, so now at this point, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put it on the pitch gauge. I'm going to bring the first one here in front of me. We're going to call this the main blade, and I got the one with the tape on it. You just want some way to identify it. When you get into multiple blades at this point, it becomes a little bit more tricky. So anyway, so I'm putting it on here, and I got right now, I got even with the boom. So you want to be even with your boom, coming straight at you. I'm at 0.34, so I'm going to go ahead and just move the collective. I'm still in that item menu I, where I'm checking the direction of the swash plate. So I'm just kind of moving it to get to, there you go, as close as I can to 0. Okay, so now I know that this blade is as close as it can be to 0, right? So the next one, if we're going to be tracking right, the next one should be in the same place. So we're going to rotate this blade, the back blade now, so it's in the front. And I overshot, so we're gonna come back around again. And here we are. So now I'm gonna put this one on, and I can already tell you it's not. And we are negative 0.9. So what I need to do at this point, well, I need to first of all make sure that we are straight, which we are now. And let's see here again, we're at negative 0.1. So at this point now, what you do is you take this control linkage, which again is this arm right here, and you're going to use your ball linkage pliers, and you're just going to pop this puppy off. There you go. Now you're going to adjust it one or the other way. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to set the camera down. I'm going to do that, and we're going to go through this a couple times probably. So here we go. I'm just going to screw it out, because if it was negative, we want to go positive. So I just screwed one whole screw turn. There we go. I'm going to pop it back in. I can pop it back in. There we go. And we're going to see where we're at now. And now I'm at 0.4. So without really turnbuckles, that's about as close as I'm going to get. So at this point, these blades should track really, really good when we spool up. So we're going to keep the pitch gauge on here now. And actually, I'm going to swing around back to the front one. And now we're going to start the next video, which will be setting the degree of change. Okay, so here we are. I'm back to the original blade, and you can see we're actually 0.5, where the other one we were 0.4 positive. So we are really, really close. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into item J by pushing the button again. One, there we are in item J. Okay, now in menu J, we're going to use the throttle stick. No, should be the aileron stick, or the, I'm sorry, the, yeah, tap aileron stick 2. So there we go. So we're at 0.68. So I got a blue light. They're saying you want to have a blue light, but I really want to be at 6 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease it. See if I can get close to that 6 degrees. And the light is red, which is wrong. So it was green, it was blue at 6.8. I really don't like being that much more. And there we are, we're solid at 6.9. I'm really not going to stress out of 6.9, that's 0.7. They want 6 degrees. I know on my MD500, I had a little bit more than what they said. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. It says here, if you're not, you need to increase. If this is not the case, increase the servo throw endpoints of which the channel is transmitting just far enough. I guess I could read in here probably, and it would tell me what to do if it's too much. But I am at this point going to just go on over to the next item, which is K. And there we go. Now we're going to be setting the plus and the minus 12. So I am right now in the blue, and let's go. We are at 7. And keep going to a negative 12. There we go. All right, 11.8, 11.9. It's kind of hard to do this in home camera at the same time. There we are. Okay, so now I'm going to go into full collective, and we're going to do the same thing. Now we want 12 this way. And these are really more for 3D, which I'm not going to be flying this thing 3D, but I'm still going to set it up the same. One. We're using, on this one, the rudder stick again to make the changes. There you go. So we're 12 there, and we're red. I don't know if it tells you red. I think, oh yeah, red is, we are negative pitch right now, which is blue. That is correct. And we're positive pitch, which is red. Tap aileron stick to, okay, so move stick to maximum pitch position. There we go. Now we're blue. Sorry, had that wrong. Okay, so what I had to do is when I was in the negative pitch, as it says here in the manual, when I went to the full pitch, move throttle sticks to maximum positive pitch and let it stay there. I want a blue LED. If you don't, and you have a red LED, which is wrong, tap the aileron stick. That's what I have. I have the status blue LED. Okay, so now the status LED indicates a solid, must be solid. And now I'm going to, there we go. And we're, okay, so I'm 12 and 12. I know that was a little confusing, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the instructions and do this at the same time. Normally I just buzz through this because I've done it so many times. So now we are okay. So now we can go with, I got my positive and my negative 12-degree pitch. So we're good there. We're moving pretty good. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into menu, setup menu point L. And that last one before I get into here, just a note. So I actually had a pitch curve on my MD500. And since I reused it, I didn't go in there. Make sure your pitch curves and everything during the setup are 0 to 100. And you're really going to want it that way. And the problem, again, that I had was it wasn't. And you can even see here that still even on my negative pitch. There we go. Now I got a solid bright and I got a solid red, okay? So I've redone my pitch. I've got positive pitch at 12. I got negative pitch at just a little bit, so I need to go back. And just a little bit more.
30 seconds, 0, angle, 83.
There we go, 12. So now I'm okay, and you can see I got a solid red and a solid blue, no flashing. So now we're good to go. So now I can go back to my menu item L. That was just a side note. Sorry guys again for the confusion. Items, and this is going to be L and M, which is the swash plate servo limits and then the swash plate control direction. So I am already in L right now, and what we're going to do is it tells you to go full sticks everywhere and see if there's any hang up. If there is, you adjust. So right now I'm in full collective up, so I'm going to go full. There's a little bit. So let's see if we can figure out, let's get rid of those noises. I don't like the noises, so we're going to go full up. There we go. And all I did was just tap the rudder. So now we're going to go the other direction. We're good there. Now we're going to go down. There we go. We're going to go down the other way. And that's it. So now we shouldn't have, let's see here. There we go. Okay, back up. Decrease. And back up this way. And we're good. So now we should be able to go. Looks like we need to go a little decrease still here. that all looks good. That all sounds pretty decent. I don't got any major hang-ups on that, so we're good. So then the next one is going to be M. And this is the last of the menu items that I do, because I don't do governor mode with this. So if you want to do governor mode, you're going to have to travel on at your own. I do governor mode in my ESC, and I will probably be eventually changing this out after a while with a Talon. Not sure yet. We'll see how that goes. I was kind of hoping for the new SC. I was hoping that it had some better governor mode in it, but it is what it is. So here we go at this point. Now it says to item M is elevator forward, aileron to the right, and I should have blue. So elevator forward and to the right, and I have purple. So any other color than purple is wrong, and I need to, there we go, hit the rudder stick, and now I got blue. So that's it. That should be done. And now I should be able to test that out by doing this. See how it moves correctly? The swash plate. You can see the swash plate moving as I move the helicopter. So that should be it. Everything should be good at this point. We got the ESC set up. We got all our settings done. Everything is golden. So the next thing to do is do all my wire management, clean it all up, and then let's do a test hover. Okay, so I'm done with my wire management. And I've got everything all cleaned up in there. So you get everything mounted. Got my receiver mounted. We're going to see how well this holds. It's double sticky back to wood. Might end up doing something different. We'll see after a couple flights. And everything's all wired, cleaned up. This is what I ended up cutting off of the wires and making my own servo ends. Buy these really cheap. And they really help with wire management for sure. So I got the one antenna tucked in underneath here. I think that'll be good. Then I'll just have the first, the other one sticking out front. I think that'll be pretty decent. We'll see how it goes. Still need to connect my motor leads back up. Need to set my fail safe on my receiver. And and she'll be ready for a test flight. We'll see how she goes. Okay, so I've done some test flights with it. I still got a lot of tweaking. This helicopter is taking more adjustments than any helicopter I've had. Really just trying to dial it in and I was having some major tail wag issues. It's just, I've been fighting a lot. I've been making some adjustments. One of the things I did notice was there was a lot of slop back here. I mean, you could actually pull the shaft and you would hear it go clunk, clunk, clunk. So I ended up putting a washer in there, filling that up. That kind of helped a lot. The control rod comes back underneath and bends up. And I actually ended up putting a zip tie in there, kind of making that a little bit straighter near the edge here because it was pulling on the control ball. So I was doing some weird stuff. Cleaned up that, ended up going in and putting in some rudder trim on it, and I think I'm running right now somewhere, I think my gyro is set up for, it's not G, maybe H, or no, maybe E or F, somewhere in there, if I can remember. My output is 27 on a negative 100, positive 100 output signal. Also, if you notice, I changed the blades. These blades aren't bad that come with it, but I generally I buy different blades. These came from the A109 that I bought. I'll buy some all black ones for this. But these are nice blades, a little bit more expensive. You get what you pay for when it comes to blades. And they're definitely a lot smoother, really smoother. But during my initial startup, I like to use these kind of blades, the ones that it comes with for my initial startup. Again, this is just personal opinion. Because when you have issues, if you get a blade chip or tip or whatever, which I ended up doing because it was seesawing back and forth and giving me all kinds of problems at first. You know, it'll chip this up instead of my good blades. And then once I get it to the point where it's flying pretty decent, I'll change out the blades and then go from there. So I'm really close. It's really windy outside right now, so I can't get any better than what I have it now. I did have to go into the trim settings of the microbeast and go into rate mode so I can trim out some rudder. That was one of my big issues. So, you know, I kept wanting to go to the left, kept wanting to go to the left. My center is, you know, I started out with my center at 1500, then I moved to 1520, and that wasn't helping at all. So, and then if I went up more into heading hold, it would just, you know, wag back and forth really bad. So it was just getting worse and worse and worse. So I finally ended up getting to a spot where it's pretty manageable, pretty decent. I still got a little bit more field work to do with it. I'll do that next time I'm out at the field and do that. And then I'll give it a good tryout. But it's a nice looking helicopter. Put some decals on it and looks good in the air. When I get it flying stable, I'll be really, really happy. For you guys that you know, my setup again came with the 6S ESC, the older ESC, the ones that came with the units last year, and also came with the 1800 kV motor. So just a word of the wise, guys, I was flying this up first where I was in kind of like a rate mode for my throttle. So my throttle and my pitch were working together to come up. That's how I like to start out my helicopters before I go into fixed speed. Eventually I'll end up going into a governor mode. But I will say that at lower head speeds, there was tons of loss of tail effectiveness. I mean, you really got to have this thing speeding up. I think right now I am at 75% of my throttle running the 6S system. So unless on the 4S systems, if they haven't changed the kV motor of the motor and they're still running the 1800 kV with a 4S system, it might not function as well. I don't know. I'd have to see how that works because, like I said, I didn't have the tail effectiveness at those lower speeds. It wasn't until I started getting up in the 75 and 80% of the 6S, the speed, the throttle, that my tail was actually starting to hold a little better and wasn't, you know, just getting way out of craziness, which makes sense, you know, for these two-bladed helicopters. You know, again, they usually run, you know, 28 to 3200 RPMs head speed. So I hope this video, after I'm done editing and put it all together, I really, really hope that it helps somebody else out. I know that I was off script the whole time, so if I missed something or did something or missaid something, yeah, you get what you get. But like I said, at least I hope it helps somebody out. Gravy out.